What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. This is Dave from Surfcraft Union, and this is a new series that I've been working on called 3 for 30. What 3 for 30 is 3 boards in 30 days, and then I'm gonna give you my unbiased opinion. With that said, it's going to be a smaller board, a mid board, and then a long or a big board. All right, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of 3 for 30. Thank you for checking it out. Let's just jump right into it. So I have a new small board, shorter board. This is the daveyskyMangopit. This is gonna be a very fun board for me because I have had some experience with Mini Simmons style surfboards, both long and short. And I think this is a nice little mix of stuff that I like about Mini Simmons as far as bottom contours, but also a little bit more length will make it a little rippy. This is 5'7" by 21 wide, so it is a pretty decent sized outline, and it is probably right around like 35 liters, maybe a touch less, but it's really flat. So you can see it's super flat, so it's gonna be really easy to paddle, and that's what I'm into. You know, making my life a little easier as far as getting out into the lineup. I'll take that all day. As far as bottom contours, you can see it has some belly, and then it's going to a pretty aggressive double concave out the tail. And what that will do is the belly will help as far as paddling, and then once this double concave starts, which is right around here, all the way out the tail, well, it's a little, no, it's still out the tail, but between the fins, this will just create so much lift and make this thing fly. Really psyched about this. I'm just using what Davey suggested for this particular board, which is the FCS2 split keels. I haven't ridden a lot of quads in my time, and this should be a pretty cool outline to try out. So this is the small board. Okay, and then for my mid board for this episode, this is a 6'6" by 21¼ Anderson APE edge board. This is a very, very tough board to come by, and unfortunately Scott Anderson passed away. So this is actually something that he did shape. It is signed and glassed at his glassing house. So this is actually pretty special to me, although I may have to give it back, but it is kind of cool that I'm gonna be able to get to ride this thing. But let's get to the board itself. What is an edge board? An edge board is literally, the board has bevels. So you have your planing surface up here, which is almost a pretty flat but slight double barrel concave. And then you have the rest of the board. So this board is 2 3/4 thick in the middle, but since it's beveled, it's a little less thick on the sides. And the idea with that is, if you've ever seen a boat start to move, you'll notice that when it's in a low gear, it's deep in the water. And as it goes faster, it raises. Same thing with this. So the idea is you paddle on 21¼ for me, 21¼ inches of width, but when I actually get up to plane on this thing, I'm gonna be on probably about 16 inches of surface. Now, what does that mean? The idea is that you will go faster, less area, more movement. So less area, less water. You will see it, and I'm really excited to surf this thing for numerous reasons. Also, the cool thing about the edge boards is that they do work very well in kind of more choppy conditions because the edge kind of breaks the chop up a little bit. On the East Coast, New Jersey, we get a lot of wind swell, not a lot of hurricanes. So with that said, if the wind changes direction and you have that side chop, this should help. So looking forward to this thing. This is set up as a quad, which is not normal. I don't want to say it's not normal. Sorry, that was a bad way of saying it. But usually you see these as straight single fins. So it's kind of special and cool that this was set up as a quad. I don't really surf quads a lot. I find them to be sticky, and I don't like how much fin is there. But there's got to be a reason why this thing was set up as a quad. So I'm going to find out. Okay, last board for this segment. The Longboard, big board. This thing is big. This is 11-1. So this is shaped by a guy in LBI underneath the label SEAFARING. It's so interesting looking. I can't wait to ride it. So his idea is super duper low rocker, obviously, as like a glider, but also it's more of a hull up front and a triplane in the back. And it has a little bit of tail rocker, very low nose rocker. So the idea is that this thing is gonna trim amazing, but it's also very foiled and very low in the rails, so it will sit low in the water as well. Now, why do we make such a big overall board? So, as per what he said on this board, which I think is really cool, because I'm actually just starting to get introduced in pro and paddleboarding, is this is made to surf outside breaks and waves that don't exactly break continuously. So trying to find those waves that just kind of fizzle out, but you could still make, which I think is really cool because there is a wave that I can't wait to try this out in when it gets a little small and just see how far I can surf a wave. And this thing should just plane and just trim. And he said that it's probably not going to nose ride, but just enjoy the flow. And I'm really into that. This is a really cool board. So it's almost like a, I don't want to say a pro and paddle board, but I'm very interested in seeing how this thing knee paddles, which I think is kind of a cool idea. I've never been able to knee paddle and get into a wave from the get-go, so I want to see how that works. He gave me this power blade. It's an 8.8, it's 4 wide, to use, and he said that he's been using this. I've been wanting to check one of these fins out for a long time. They're very hard to get, and very, very interested in seeing how this fin works. The idea is that it has a torsion flex, where a regular flex fin is a little bit different. He also gave this to me to try, which is a Tudor 9.5 flex fin. Pretty stiff flex, but just the fact that I pulled up to pick up this board and this fin was in it is just so epic. I'm so into that. So this is the big board, and I'm gonna surf these things, and then I'll see you guys in a little bit. So onto the review part. This is the small board category. This is the Davey Sky Mangopit in 5'7". It is 21 inches wide, and it's pretty neat. It's mini Simmons-ish template, but the bottom contours are built for speed and maneuverability. I'm not gonna lie, at first, the little bit of belly in the nose kind of threw me off because I'm not used to riding a board this small to begin with. And for those who have ridden boards with a little bit of belly, they're a little tough to paddle. But the idea of it is that it will help you make drops. And that's why they put them in a lot of boards, especially alternative boards. So that way you can come in a little late. Even Hayden put a full displacement hole in the nose of pretty much a full-on performance surfboard because it helps make drops. Which was very odd, and I think people had a hard time surfing them because they do paddle a little slower, but if you can drop in a little later, makes it for a better wave possibly. But let's get into the actual what's going on with all of this right here. So, overall volume, relatively low, almost S-deck-ish. Like a mini Simmons would, or a Hull would. Nothing crazy, but it is really thinned out in the nose. And that's for swing weight. This thing likes to go top to bottom. And usually when you see a board like this, with this outline, the top to bottom is more flowy. Think like Tyler Warren surfing a bar of soap. Super flowy, all right? A lot of highlining going on. But I found this board, you can surf it very aggressively off the tail, and it does hold. It has a boatload of speed for the size of the board, and it does create speed as you pump and does not feel slow at any moment. The double concave starting right here, going all the way through, that's a lot. And it makes it super duper fast. And I think that's what makes this board different than other mini Simmons style outlines. Plus, the fin setup that we used for this, which was suggested by the shaper, was the FCS split keel. And if you look, that's a lot of area of fin. And that's why I don't really love keels. That's why I don't really love quads as well, because it's a lot of fin. But with the amount of speed that this board gives, I feel like you need this much fin for it to hold you through turns. So for me, these fins were great. And it's actually opening up my whole mind into like maybe exploring quads a little bit more. Just depending on, who's shaping it with the wide tail. Also, the tail is super wide. You're gonna need a lot of fin. Really good job on this board. It's really cool. I was stoked to try it. He makes something called Focus Flex technology as well, which is an epoxy composite. I'm not 100% sure about it. I would love to talk to him about it and kind of get some more information, because I think that that's something very interesting for someone from the East Coast to be coming out with their own technology. It's cool stuff. It's very innovative, and that's why I wanted to try his boards, because that's very innovative stuff to do from a guy from New Jersey. And the board works really well, and it feels clean, and it looks clean. I'm not talking about all of this sand and stuff on it, but just in general, picking it up, it feels really good. So as far as who I would suggest this to, this board goes from 411 to up. You know, obviously it's a give and take situation. The more volume you get of a board, the better it's gonna paddle. Less volume, better it's gonna turn. So you gotta kind of find your happy medium, and I'm sure that Davey would be more than happy to walk you through what board works for you. But the mangopit, I would love to actually try this also in a 6-foot version, maybe even 6'6", just because the amount of volume will be great for paddling for me, but the amount of speed and the ability to maneuver this board could be insane in a bigger outline. So with that said, who knows? Maybe in a couple episodes, the mangopit will be in the mid category. We'll have to see. But this is the small waveboard, and it was awesome. And thank you, Davey, for letting me try it. All right, Anderson APE edge board. This board, again, 6'6" by 21¼ by 2 3/4, but usually you would think that that is a massive board. But with the beveling done along the rails, it's 2 3/4 in the middle, way thinner in the rails. Before we get into the whole review, I just want to give a little bit of a background of why this board is the way that it is. So George Greeno, if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. There's a good chance that you have his 4A in one of your boards if you're watching this. So George Greeno is let's call him a surf design developer, all right? So got a little sick of the crowds in California, and decided to try to venture out and try to find other waves along the coastline on his boat. What he found were plenty of other waves, but the issue was the waves weren't as good as what he was used to surfing, where all the crowds were. So instead of just giving up, he decided to develop boards that worked better for those conditions having flat sections, different winds, winds that were not in favor to surfing at all. And the result was this. And what these bevels do is they just cut out the chop a little bit. They make the entry a lot faster and quicker. And in general, planing speed is way faster on something like this. And I felt it big time. I surfed this board a few times in waves that were not very good, where I was surfing another board that I had at home, and then got this board in the water and completely changed the whole session. Just made it so much more fun. Especially waves with sections, offshore winds. If you ever surf a board and you always get stuck up front, this board just cuts right through offshore winds. And it's because it's got this slight double barrel concave going through the tail, and then this big bevel here and the bevel here, so there's really not a ton of board in the water to begin with. The best thing that I liked about this board is that it surfed really well backside, which is something that normally I have felt a quad does not, and I think it's because it feels too tracky. but due to the narrowness of the tail, it surfed really great backside, which was very, very fun because the last couple times that there has been waves, it's been more lefts, which I am a regular foot, so not in my favor, but definitely made it a lot of fun. It's kind of a bummer that so Scott Anderson was the shaper for these, and there are a few other people that do make edge boards, but Scott was one of the main guys. And unfortunately, Scott passed away, and you can't get a Scott Anderson, but you can get other brands that make edge boards that use the Greeno templates, that use the Greeno format. So don't get too bummed out. There is hope and there is options. This board was lent to me by Wanderlust in Seagirt, New Jersey. Thank you for allowing me to take this board out for a little bit and try it. It is a demo board. Also, thank you, Luke, for letting me use your Machado quad fins. I know that these are your personal fins, and that you've been meaning to get them back. I apologize that it's been taking a little bit more time, but I'll drop them off right after this, I promise. So that's the mid. This board is made for really anyone. I don't want to say, I feel like the price category is not for a beginner, but the ability definitely is. These boards are great, especially if you surf a wave that is not consistent. Beach breaks that have a lot of deep spots, this thing just crushes and cruises. It works great in bad waves, and it works better in really, really good waves. So if it's one of those situations, especially with summer around the corner, and you want to get your wave count up, great board for that. I would call it a definite travel board for sure. I think it handles just about anything. The size is not too big, not too small. At 6'6", you know, some people consider that as a step up. Some people consider this as a mid in that size. I think it works great for everything. So that is my review on this bad boy. All right, so this was different, to say the least. I have not ridden a glider in this shape, this style. When I spoke to Greg, he said, you know, this is a glider that is not necessarily meant for turning, left go rights, all that stuff. It's more for just getting into everything. And I surf this board in very small surf, and I surf this board in some bigger surf, nothing crazy, maybe like chest high, but it was a lot of fun. The cool thing about it is that it really does paddle insane, and there is footage. You can even see that I'm just literally just standing on this thing with no wave in sight, and I'm just kind of almost like stand-up paddleboarding, minus the paddle. And also there is another wave that you guys can see that I caught the wave, fell off the board, but still managed to hold onto the board, and the board just kept going on the wave, and I was able to get back onto it. So that type of buoyancy just shows that this thing, once you commit to paddling into a wave, you better go. And if you don't feel comfortable with it, then it might get a little interesting. Again, very different from what I've ridden in the glider versions. Usually they're a lot more pulled in the nose and the tail, usually a pintail possibly. But this thing is definitely more wide point forward, and you can also see I took some POV action, and I'm right around here, and when your feet are together here and you still have another 4 feet in front of you, another 4 feet in back of you, it's quite a feeling. It's pretty awesome. I really wanted to try to surf a spot that I was hoping to get around to, but I just did not. But those spots that just kind of break a little further out, that you can take a wave all the way from far away and take them to even farther, and that's what this board is made for. So definitely a cool board. I don't suggest it to a beginner. This thing is not made for a beginner. But what it is made for is someone that just wants to try something different. Your wave count will be up for sure, but also you just have to understand that with something of this volume, you have to commit to the wave or it's not going to work out. The board came with this fin, and this is the Powerblade 8.8. Tried it, and then ended up using this V-Flex Joel Tudor 9.5, and found that this fin actually gave me a little bit more of a pivot and was able for me to turn the board a little bit easier. Not that I was doing any left go rights or anything like that, but at least gave me a little bit of a chance. Again, board's really cool. I was stoked on it. Thanks, Greg, for letting me try it. Really appreciate it. All right, so end of the episode, which means I got a little knickknack for you guys. This is called Elephant Seal, and it's a surfboard repair film, similar to a sticker, but you don't have to worry about that adhesive after you take the sticker off. So sometimes, like when I would get a ding, I put a sticker on the board and I'd have to cut it out all funky to get it on so that way it would seal correctly. And then when I go to actually repair the ding, then I have adhesive all over the ding. And it's a pain in the ass, and you gotta sand it all out. So what this does is pretty much completely eliminates that whole thing. These little clear stickers are already cut out, so they're already ready to go. It comes with the sandpaper. It comes with the alcohol swab, so that way you can clean it correctly. And it comes with a little utility blade, so that way, instead of getting your greasy little fingers that probably have wax all over it, you can just take this little utility blade and peel it, and then take it with it and correctly put it on the board. Cool packaging, very minimalistic. I'm really psyched that Adam, the owner, gave this to me. I haven't had to use it yet, but I'm sure I will. And I hate to do ding repair. It's like the worst. And I'm really bad at it too. To anyone that ever reaches out to me and says, hey, can you fix my board? You don't want it. It's terrible. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the support. Thank you, Davey Sky, for your hospitality. Let me check out your shop. Let me borrow a board. Good to have like a little 30-minute conversation with you. Greg as well, Greg from SEAFARING in LBI. He's doing some huge stuff in LBI coming soon. Keep a lookout on him. Really cool stuff. And his brother just got invited to the Mexi Log Fest, which is probably happening right now. I feel like I should probably be watching that. I don't know how to. But anyway, stoked for all you guys. It's good to have two New Jersey brands. I'm a New Jersey guy. I want this for everybody. But this particular episode, I decided to do two New Jersey guys and then do a legend, Scott Anderson. So it's a good mix. I hope Everybody had fun. Please subscribe if you're into that. Please send this out to some people that you think might be into it. I really appreciate it. Stay safe. Be nice to everybody. And surf soon. Later.